video on the foods you should keep on hand, like staple foods that you can store long term, um, in case there's another wave, or I think these are just foods you should always have on hand. Let's try to avoid those lines and keep our families fed. So I hope that this video can be of helping use to you. So these are the foods that I have, that I try to keep as much of as I can, because in the small amount of space that I have. I'm recording it this way because my camera keeps turning off and I'm not sure what's going on. So I'm just going to go through these in the order. There's no major order that is super important. You know what you use the most of, keep that on hand. I found that one of the first things I wanted to buy was oats. I prefer rolled oats, because the old-fashioned kind, because even if you don't have electricity or heat, you can still make this with some warm water or milk. It doesn't even have to be warm. You can just prepare it at night in a jar and eat it in the morning. And that's also why I have raisins, but any kind of dehydrated fruit that you prefer or preserves will be good for that purpose. I like raisins and cinnamon in my oatmeal, so that's why I bought a big bag of raisins, because I know I use a little bit and that provides sweetness, it provides flavor in my cereal. I also have this cream of wheat, which I don't eat often because it's kind of expensive here in New York, so it's not something that I buy readily. But I was out of town and I saw this for $2. I bought a few boxes because a few boxes still cost about what one box costs here in New York. So that's why I bought cream of wheat. Again, cinnamon. I would probably use some honey for this because I don't really like fruit in my cream of wheat. Then I have flour. I think flour is really important to have because you can make bread, which is why I have the yeast. Bread, you can make empanadas if you can just make the dough. You can make pizza. You can make pasta. If worse came to worse and you didn't have any actual pasta, you can make some pasta with some wheat, with some flour. I'm sorry, it doesn't have to be whole wheat. I prefer brown bread, so I have whole wheat. I still have to get a regular all-purpose flour so I can do my little mixing. Then here I have the dry yeast, the instant yeast. I use this for bread, a little bit, not into really needing that much. You can make some no-knead bread with some yeast, some sugar, water, and flour. You have bread. If you guys, this was not available for several months, it was really hard to come by, and it's the funniest story. I was in BJ's and there was a little old lady walking, and I saw this in her little walker cart thing, and I was like, oh, where'd you get that? And I probably gave that poor lady a heart attack by mistake, but I was just like so excited because I was actually looking for it and I couldn't find it. She had the last one, and for several weeks I stalked BJ's, walking over as my exercise to see if they had any yeast, and they didn't. Thankfully, my coworker and friend found it in BJ's in New Jersey and picked up a few packets for me. Now, if you have a membership to a big box store like BJ's or Sam's Club or Costco, see if you can find this, because you get, like the container that I bought, it comes with 2 pounds. Each of this is a pound. 2 pounds for $5. And one of these in like Whole Foods or Fairway, it's like $8-9. Especially now that it's so hard to come by, this is a good thing to keep on hand. If anything, you might be able to use it to barter in the future if things get really, really bad. Then I have pasta, which I always have pasta on hand. I never know when I want to make it, so just always have some pasta. It's super easy to cook, doesn't take too long, And if you have pasta, also have some sauces that you like. If you can find some on sale, just try to keep some on hand. And if you don't have that and you have some canned tomatoes, well, that'll work. Some canned tomatoes will work. You can just heat up the tomatoes, blend them up with some spices, some oregano, some parsley, not parsley, some basil, some Italian seasoning mix, and let that simmer. Boom, you have tomato sauce. Then I have these the packets of mashed potatoes, which isn't something that I had eaten since I was a kid. I used to actually make these a lot when I was younger. But after I got older, my tastes change, and I'm kind of bougie a little when it comes to my food. But I started to try these out in the single packages that I bought at the dollar store. And I'll show you. I actually have, oops, I have the garlic, roasted garlic and butter. Is it butter? No, this is just roasted garlic, mashed potatoes. And my favorite is actually the sour cream and onion. Favorite, but that one just fell as I was grabbing it. The next thing I would say, along with I don't know if I mentioned rice, because I recorded this, guys, and nothing recorded, so do excuse the fact that I'm not in the picture. Rice as a Latina, super important. We eat rice a lot. Rice and beans. I think we're not going to be eating as much meat, so I think we're going to have to get our protein. A lot of our protein from beans and legumes. You can make some rice. It stores for a fairly long time if you put it in a good container. Things can't get into it. Maybe get an oxygen absorber just to make sure nothing starts to produce, keeps the moisture out. Then I have beans. I'm a black beans fan. It's the beans I eat the most, and I thought I had a bag of black beans. I don't. I have a jar of black beans, but a jar of dry black beans, but I need to get more. And then I have split peas, and I have a lot of lentils, guys. Lentils are super inexpensive, and you can make so much. You can make lentil meatballs with some chickpea flour or some actual chickpeas. You cook the lentils with your herb spices. I have not done that yet. I'm gonna try that out. I know I've eaten them at one of my favorite restaurants when I'm trying to cut out meat a little bit. Split peas, pinto, any kind of beans and legumes that you prefer to eat, keep them on hand, because also you don't want to be eating the same thing. If we're not eating a lot of protein in the form of meat, you want to have something that's going to be filling and nutritious. Lentils, beans, super nutritious. I also have some canned vegetables here, and I have like beets and corn, and these are green beans, which oddly enough I don't really like green beans, but it doesn't hurt. If things are really tight, you'll eat that can of green beans and you're like, yums. So then I have my honey. I need to buy another one of these, but I bought this on sale. It's like 5 pounds of honey, and I got it for, now honey's expensive. This is raw honey, and I got this at Whole Foods on sale. So that's why I picked up this giant thing of honey, and I used it almost every single day during quarantine, and I still have a little bit, just under half of honey. And I only really use honey for my tea. Very rarely do I use it for my oatmeal anymore. When I first started to cut out sugar, I still used a little bit of honey for flavor. Honey is really, the main purpose is for my tea, and for if my skin is a little dry in the winter, I'll put some on my lips, because it just kind of smooths them out right away. And then I have sugar. I bought this sugar because as I walked around BJ's checking to see what was changing in what was available, I noticed that a whole bunch of sugar was available. So I bought a bag, and I'm like, I'm never going to use this much sugar. It's actually, you need so much sugar to do preservation of like fruits. So I'm glad I bought this giant bag of sugar. Now, before even quarantine, I had bought this large bag of almonds. Now, this is a raw bag, non-GMO, unpasteurized almonds. I bought this so that I can make almond milk, because I actually use almond milk for almost all of my cereals and stuff, which is the only thing I really use milk for. I also use creamer, but I just bought dry creamer for my coffee. But I also learned how to drink black coffee because, well, maybe I'm gonna run out of creamer. And then I have canned meat. Now, Spam is not something I buy too often, but I do like making Spam rice, and that gets eaten a few times a year, not too often. And I know it's not healthy, but it would provide variety when you've been eating rice and beans for several days. You can make Spam and some potatoes, or I have this canned salmon, which you can make like a salmon cake, which my coworker actually puts the potato flakes in her salmon instead of like breadcrumbs, and she says it tastes really, really good. I've never tried it. Canned chicken, I had never bought before this time, but I have a few ideas, and I like tacos, and I think chicken breasts would, you saute it with some onions, some peppers, throw it on a tortilla, some lettuce, tomatoes. You have a nice taco. Also, if you just make a soup, you can add a can of that. Now you got protein in your soup. Or you can make it with your pasta. You can make like a casserole. You know. I also, aside from the almonds, I think having nuts on hand are really important. Walnuts. I bought walnuts because I actually use them as a meat alternative. You soak them overnight or at least 2 hours, and I'll do the recipe, which I got from Ty's Conscious Kitchen, or actually his wife LP share, and she does this really great Dr. Sabi inspired tacos, and she used shelled walnuts to make the meat. My mom's kind of skeptical because I'm always coming up with different things, and she wasn't trying to hear it. But I gave her this, and she was like, "Oh, it looks like ground beef." And I was like, "Yeah." And she tasted it, and she's like, "Oh, it tastes like ground beef." And I was like, "Yeah." So I'll cook this, and I'll show you show you guys how I do it. Then I have salt. I have a lot more salt than this, but I have a small table, so like it doesn't the big salt. So I actually just took my big salt and refilled this salt. I use salt for cooking every single day, unless I'm using adobo. I actually bought, well, you can use any spices, but as a Spanish person, adobo is a staple. It has everything: garlic, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, everything. And then of course cinnamon. I also bought a big cinnamon. This is a small cinnamon just because it fits on the table, but I bought a big cinnamon because, well, I eat a lot of oatmeal. And I also bought a giant thing of turmeric, because turmeric is something that's really good for your health. You can actually add to your teas for it has anti-inflammatory properties, I don't want to say antibacterial. It has other health benefits, but for sure it has anti-inflammatory properties. So I do have a giant turmeric as well. So one thing that I noticed that I didn't put on this table is milk. I use almond milk. So I bought a few boxes of the shelf-stable almond milk. If you prefer whole milk or dairy, you can buy the dehydrated milk. In that sense, I actually bought coconut milk so that I can use, if I get really tired and I don't have any almond milk, I can add it to my oats. And maybe if I make an Indian inspired dish, I can add some of that to my, let's say I want to make a curry or something, to that. So guys, these are the staple foods I keep on hand as much as I can in the space that I have, so that I can feed my family and avoid those long lines. Bye for now. Take care. Love you guys. Bye. So guys, as you can see, I have on this table just a few things. This is not much more than my stockpile. Yes, I have more rice. Yes, I have more beans. But Space is an issue in an apartment in the city. So if all you can do is have one shelf or one cabinet with a few of the things that you use all the time, whether it be beans or oatmeal, just start now. You don't want to wait until things get bad and now nothing's available. Oatmeal was something that I was like, you know what? You have oatmeal, buy some more oatmeal. I have oatmeal in several places. I'm a maniac. I like oatmeal. So, you know, even if you don't have a lot of space, buy 1 to 2 things if you can when you go shopping, and then later, if you can't buy something, it's okay because you already have it on hand, right? So take care. Bye.